Yeah. I think it is a convergence of several things, Tafa. It's the timing couldn't be better to get into the senior care market. And one of the main reasons, and many of the folks listening to this have heard the term Silver Tsunami, right? That this baby boom generation is aging. There are thousands and thousands of baby boomers that are getting to the point where they're going to need care every single day, right? And this is the largest generation that is at the point where they're going to need care.
Well, welcome everyone to another edition of We Are Amada. And today we have a special guest in from out of town visiting us here in Southern California at corporate. His name is Jon Thomas. So, Jon, thanks for jumping on the podcast with us today. Today we're just going to ask a few questions just to get to know you, get a feel for who you are and what you do here at Amada. So why don't you give us a quick synopsis of your background?
Yeah. Thanks, Tafa. Yeah. Good to be with you. Good to join the pod and be here at Amada headquarters of the mothership. So I'm excited for our conversation today. A little bit of my background. So I've been in the long-term care space for, I want to say going on a decade. I started out in financial planning and in the insurance world and got out of school and started financial planning and I had like many of us, right, I experienced caregiving in my family. Grandparents were aging and had a situation in my family where my grandfather, World War II veteran, who came back from the war and had built his home with his bare hands, right, in a small town in Ohio, he was aging. And really got to the point where we had to move him to a facility. He could not stay home, and it was a traumatic situation for my family. And it was one of those moments where, as a family, you look around and you really, the gravity of aging and the challenges of care hit home in a way that many of us don't realize until we're in the situation. And that was the moment for us. And I was going through that at about the same time that the company I was with introduced their first long-term care insurance product. And so these things kind of aligned for me, and it was a really good time to explore long-term care insurance, and my mind was blown. We were going through this situation. I said, wow, there's an insurance product to pay for care. And so I dove in with both feet. And I started singing the long-term care song and selling long-term care insurance and wholesaling insurance, and so I did that for a number of years, and then until we met, right? And I joined the Amada organization. Yeah,
it's interesting. We met at a conference, and I was sitting in the crowd watching Jon present, and I'm like, man, he's good. And I've heard you present before, but it was serendipitous that we would meet at that particular point in time because I had with me our director of training, Matt Smith. He was filling in for Crystal Chavez, who was out on maternity leave at that time, and she would typically go with me, so it was just the right time, right place, and when you walked off of stage, you were speaking at a broker general agency conference that we regularly attend. We both looked at each other, and Matt said, "You need to hire that guy." And I'm like, I know. So it was great that we were able to meet. So now you're here at Amada, at the mothership, running director of national accounts. You're on our executive team, and it's been a lot of fun. We've been able to accomplish so much in such a short period of time. Yeah. And I'm still energized and excited about a lot of the opportunities that we have in front of us. So let's just back up for a moment. Let's talk about some of the opportunities you see in senior care as it pertains to someone who might be considering a change in their career path, someone who potentially has worked for a corporation who's been successful in various entrepreneurial endeavors. Yeah. Why senior care? Why do you think, with your history and your background and your proven track record of working with the carriers, why senior care? Just give me a quick, short, condensed overview of why do you think that this is a great opportunity and the timing is now, right? 2026 in a couple weeks, right?
Believe it or not.
Why now?
Yeah. I think it is a convergence of several things, Tafa. It's the timing couldn't be better to get into the senior care market. And one of the main reasons, and many of the folks listening to this have heard the term Silver Tsunami, right? That this baby boom generation is aging. There are thousands and thousands of baby boomers that are getting to the point where they're going to need care every single day, right? And this is the largest generation that is at the point where they're going to need care. And so there's a dramatic need. There's just a need for care. And at the same time that there's this huge need, the Silver Tsunami, the healthcare system is not serving.
It's broken.
It's broken.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we talk all the time about the care continuum and what that looks like. But we see this, that seniors go to the hospital, they're discharged, right? And then families are trying to figure it out. That the family, doesn't know where to turn, that mom or dad has to come home, right? And if they are not providing care themselves, they're at a loss. They're at a loss, and there hasn't been a quarterback in the healthcare system, right? The quarterback isn't there to really help that family figure out the care continuum. So it's the convergence of those two things. But then we also see that families are asking questions. And so, you and I are embedded in the insurance industry. We're talking to insurance agents day in and day out. We're talking to financial advisors. And those professionals are engaged in the aging conversation more than ever, right? Baby boomers, many folks are saying this generation are house rich. They have a home. They've invested. That's their primary asset, but they're cash poor, right? So they're looking for ways to fund aging and pay for their care as they age. And they're calling on agents. They're calling on financial advisors. Family members are talking to those advisors. Hey, help us out. How do we plan for aging, right? And so because we're embedded in that network with agents and advisors, right, we uniquely have this opportunity to work with those folks to get referrals. And so, you have this growing need. There's a lot missing in healthcare, right, to help solve that issue. And we're embedded with financial advisors and insurance agents to be able to uniquely tap into that demand.
Yeah, what's interesting is I was out making sales calls in North Carolina this week with one of our operators, and I just love keeping my ear to the ground and, never kind of, losing sight of the fact that that's how we grow the business. It's bootstrap it. It's you're delivering cookies and donuts, and we never get away from that. But one of the biggest differentiators with our company is our ability to see where the marketplace is moving and get there before a lot of the competition.
That's right.
And it's only because of my experience and the experience that we've had here in the company, and also Chad had a lot to do with this. We had to go play in left field, right? Yeah. Because we couldn't afford to continue to do what traditional home care operators do, right? And so one of the things that really sets the company apart is the fact that we help families pay for care.
Right.
And we don't want to give away our secret sauce on a podcast, but I think that is really what's going to sustain us, over the next several years as the waters get more choppy, right? I mean, you have Medicare is one of the largest payers of healthcare in the country, and they're scaling back. I mean, VA benefits are scaling back. A lot of these programs that they've created is really designed to put the cost of care onto the consumer. Right. And you'll see that with hospital readmissions and the recidivisms and the penalties that are that they're pushing out there. And I think it's really interesting. And you, like I, have had a familial experience. My father's currently on service with Amada.
Yes. And
I think, as we get older, I'm 51 right now, but as we get older and we start seeing our parents aging, I'm just noticing how big of a need this is. And most Americans don't realize that this is going to impact everybody, right?
Yeah.
It's not something you can avoid, right? It's not like, your Starbucks coffee. It's nice to have Starbucks coffee in the morning, but there's certain things that you just can't get around, and healthcare is certainly one. I remember calling on our first carrier. We went into Chicago. Yeah. The carrier will remain nameless, right? And we sat down, and it was myself, Jared, Chad, and Robert Christensen. We got into the carrier, and the president walks in the room, and we're in this big tower in Chicago, and then the CEO walks in the room. They're like, okay, boys, how'd you get here?
Right.
That was the first question.
How'd you get in?
Like, why are we here? Like, you guys, can potentially run up claims on us. Like, what are we doing here?
Right. Right.
And it was at that moment I'm like, I think we might be a little too early. And sure enough, we were.
Yeah.
But it was great because we learned so much from that experience, and it was such a valuable interaction. And I still stay in close contact with the both of them. One of them has moved on to build an incredible Medicare business, right?
Yeah.
But the long and the short of it is we learned so much from that, and timing is everything. I guess that's the moral of the story. Timing is everything, and I think our timing is great as an organization because all these things that were out there, they're starting to come to fruition, and I think it's like the perfect storm, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you and I have been in these rooms now.
Yeah.
And what we're telling the carriers is you've sold a promise.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
But you don't directly provide care. So your ability to deliver on that promise is only as good as the folks on the other end that are providing care.
Yeah.
So you need to have these relationships, and that's where we can come in.
Yeah.
Right, and it's been effective to the point that this One America deal that we've done this year and that was announced, right, that they have introduced a new product with new features and built Amada services into the new products that they're going to be selling for years to come.
I know. I'm so excited about that, and the fact that we're the first home care agency to partner directly with the carrier. That's huge, and I think that there's going to be more of that to come. And to any degree that we can play a small role in making that happen, not only with our company but also with other companies. It's like the opportunity is so big, and I tell people there's so much business that's out there.
Right.
We would be doing ourselves a disservice to the community if it was just Amada, right? So I want to play a small role in helping providers gain more access to carriers because I think ultimately if we help the carriers sustain their ability to sell more product, place more product, properly pay claims, it's good for the providers, and ultimately, at the end of the day, it's good for the caregivers, and that's what we're here for. I mean, I talk about this all the time, how we're a very caregiver-centric organization. That means a lot to me. And so I want to pay the caregivers well. I want to make sure the providers get paid well, too. And so we're starting to engage more into, those sensitive issues that typically are managed at the state level, but now they're national issues, right? So getting involved in lobby and legislation, all those things are a little bit more important. I don't know if it's because I'm just getting older now, but we need to make sure that we're providing air support for our offices, and ultimately our offices take great care of the caregivers and in turn the clients.
Well, so, I think pulling back a little bit, we're having so much conversation around AI. Right, and how the workforce is going to change. But the truth of the matter is, for now, we need people. Right. And building these bridges, building these these connections with insurance carriers, we're lining up a payer source that's going to be able to pay our caregivers, and we're shoring up a workforce. Right, we're going to be a part of this economy that's paying people. Right, that's not going to disappear from AI, at least not today. Right,
not today. So, Jon, this is great. So, in closing, give us some advice. What can we do as a network moving forward into uncertainty? And here's the deal: is like whenever things are uncertain, like I get excited because that means there's opportunity for us, right? So.
That's right.
We got to get comfortable with uncertainty, instability. I love it, right? So as we kind of move forward into 2026, what bit of advice do you have for our franchise partners, or maybe even those who might be considering, getting into senior care for the first time? Like what? So give us your short-term, tips, and then give us some long-term tips on what we can do to be successful.
Yeah. Short term, I think as I've had the opportunity to spend some time with many of our franchise owners and our agency owners, and see them in action. And all of us are doing great work, right? And I think there's when we're in the hospital, right, when we're going in the medical setting and we're talking to docs and we're talking to social workers and case managers and kind of talking about our services, or we're talking to folks in the insurance world or financial advisors. I think you can. There's this tendency maybe to put yourself in this limited position and say we provide non-medical home care, we have caregivers, and kind of leave it at that. But what we do is bigger, right? And I think all of us have the opportunity to step in the room and say, hey, we are leading the conversation around filling the gap, creating that care continuum, right? And we can be the quarterback of services, ancillary services, wraparound services that make aging possible for many families, right? And walk in confidence in that, right? We're, we are seeing our prospective patients, our prospective clients. We go visit them in the hospital. Many of us are picking them up or meeting them when they get home, right? We're helping them coordinate home health. We're helping them find funding to pay for care, right? And so we're changing the lives of so many families. And I think that is a story we got to shout from the rooftops because nobody else is filling that gap.
That's right.
And people don't, most of us that haven't gone through it don't really understand the gravity of that gap.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. It's interesting because most families don't realize what it is until it's in their lap, right? And it's unfortunate. I don't know what we need to do to make sure that this is a topic of discussion more with families, but you can only do so much, and we're certainly doing great work out there in the community. So,
we are. Yeah, that's right.
So hey, man, I really appreciate you popping in and just 10, 15 minutes just to talk shop, and we got to do this again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good to be with you, Tafa.
All right, as always. All right, everyone, thanks for joining us for We Are Amada, and we'll keep you posted on the next guest. So stay tuned. Take care.